Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence a field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pilar Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Hurrah! Get some. What's going on, everybody? Hey, today our show is a little remote. I got to leave the studios in Doha, and now I'm back in the good old US of America. Get some. So today's we have an awesome show planned today. We're gonna get a different perspective. What it's like basically growing up while one of your family members is in the service. Oftentimes, we talk to other service members and such, and we hear those stories. We hear, their perspective and experiences, so on and so forth. However, we never get to talk, to those who stay back home because, while we're those of us who were deployed and doing, the God's work, I guess, if you could say that, in an austere, far environment. Those who get to stay back home, their lives are pretty much, kind of on pause and stay on standstill and trying to move on while, mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, that significant other is out there hooking and jabbing for all intents and purposes. And so they stay home with those anxieties and worries that come with when having a loved one while they're gone. Are they going to be okay? God, I hope I don't get one of those phone calls, or I don't get that special knock on the door with two service members, doing what we call a CACO call, the Casualty Assistance. I forgot the C stands for officer, casualty officer. So, those are things that I know I took a little bit for granted because, then again, when you're in a combat situation and you're deployed doing all those things, you just don't have time to worry about any of those things whatsoever, because your head and your mind is going to be on the swivel, because the moment you let your guard down or you're distracted, that's when you get injured. That's when accidents happen, and you never know what can go wrong when you're out there. So today I've go ahead and invited someone very special, near and dear to my heart. It's my daughter, Pilar Correa Royce, or she goes by PJ. I've always called her, Peely. That's how I've always known, called her. So, but we're gonna get her her perspective, what it was like growing up in the military. She was born and raised in Camp Pendleton, California. For a very large part of until I retired in 2014. We lived aboard military base, Camp Pendleton primarily. So, you live inside this bubble of, I guess you could say, protection, so to speak. Not so much shelter, because there's a lot of things I could tell you endless stories of things that happening and occurred while living on base housing that would just, basically make you do backflips of all, some very funny, some very just shocking, and even some that, that have a lot of seriousness where police had to get involved and all those things. So, just because we live inside that base, and a lot of us don't think that, oh, nothing's going to happen in here. Well, things do happen. So we'll go ahead and talk to Pilar and get her comments as to what it was like basically growing up in the military. She was having some technical issues, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead and oh, here she is, everybody. So now I give you Miss PJ. How are you doing, P?
I'm good. How are you, Pa?
I'm doing great. It's called, you call me Chief Warrant Officer while we're on the. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So Pete, tell us what was it like, growing up while I was doing all those things. Well, first of all, let's start out this way. What was it like for you, growing? Give me just general perspective what it was like growing while you were in in a military base.
It was definitely not what everyone expects it to be. It was totally like everyone thinks that like when you grow up in the military, like you come from money with family. You don't make a lot. Like a lot of people who didn't like grow up in the military think that like, oh, your family has so much money because they're in the military, but like we really didn't. Like we had money, but like we didn't have a lot like everyone thought we did. Growing up on base, like in base housing, was definitely always an adventure, and it was probably because of, like the hood rat kids that lived around us. Like these kids were not perfect like everyone thinks they are. Like they were badass kids. Oh wait, can I cuss on here?
Sure, you can say.
Okay. But I mean, in general, like I loved it. I loved growing up on base. Like I never felt sheltered or anything because like I met so many people and like we all came from different places. Like fortunately I stayed in one place, unlike others who like moved all over the states or like out of the country. But like I loved it. I loved growing up in the military. But it definitely did have its cons, like when you would leave and such. But that's really about it. So I made a lot of good friends.
And I guess you feel, and what I'm getting is like you felt well rounded in the sense that you got to meet different types of kids from various different backgrounds. But and I agree with you as well that there is a misconception, especially you know tell us what it was like, because as you know, obviously, you know, I transitioned from enlisted to officer. So can you tell us some of the misconceptions that, oh, your dad is an officer, what was that like, and so on, and the differences between, but there's also differences too.
Yeah. Well, it's like really funny because as like my other friend Chris and I, we would always be on base. We always went to the beach, and like whenever like Marines come up to us, they would always ask like, "Oh, is your dad in the Marine Corps?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then he'd be like, "What rank?" And we'd be like, "Oh, Chief Warrant Officer." Blah blah blah. And they would all be like, "Oh shit! Like we cannot talk to you. Like your dad will literally ruin our lives." They're like, "Your dad's a unicorn." And I was like, the hell? I'm like, it's just a rank. They're like, no, it's not just a rank. Like, we really could not like mess with you or even talk to you because like he could destroy us in any way. So I mean, I always used your rank as like a flex. I was like, yeah, my dad's chief one officer. But like everyone else like that's in was like, I'm scared of your dad. Like we respect your dad way too much to even like associate ourselves with you. But I mean, I thought it was, I mean, I loved it. I loved that you were so high up, not because like it benefited me in any way. Like my life never really changed. Like we had more income, obviously, but other than that, like I didn't look at you like, oh, like I didn't look at you different. Like you were always my dad. Like no matter what rank you were, whether you were like a PFC or whatever, even though it wasn't like like it didn't matter to me. Like you were still someone I always looked up to, whether you had a promotion or not. So
Right, right. Well, and I know you mentioned that to me a couple of times, like, Papi, eh, whenever I talk to a boy, it's like, such a deterrence, which, by the way, I loved it because, just one less, if my rank was a cock blocker and in my favor, then yay.
it really
you
was,
know,
but I mean, it's okay.
no, and I know that, at times that could be difficult as well. But nonetheless, I think that the different exposures that you got and the different folks that you got to meet, because I know, one of the things that I give credit to your mom as well, both of us, is that we were very hands-on in the sense that, we wanted you and Joseph and your brother to have that stability of not moving around, at the sacrifice, obviously, of me being gone, to move, to pick up your stuff, like some of your counterparts, where, I know you had friends that have moved 3-4 times,
Mm-hmm.
within a very short amount of time frame. So that was one of the things that we really focus on. And but what was it like going to school inside of a school inside the base, one of the DoD schools as they call them? What was that like for you?
I mean, I loved it. I loved going to Mary Faith Pendleton. Like, it was like it had a lot of advantages. Like, celebrities would always come visit us. Like, that was like the coolest thing. Like, when I met like Maria Shriver and like Corbin Blue from High School Musical and like Miranda Cosgrove from iCarly. Like, that was so cool. Or when you and I went to what's it called, the Lucky One movie premiere, and we met Zac Efron and like Nicholas Sparks, and then we went to that one, what other one? The John Cena movie, and the
Oh,
John
the
Cena movie,
Marine. The
John
Marine.
Cena. Like, there were so
Tell
many
them that.
advantages.
Go ahead, tell them that story.
Like, I honestly don't remember. I just remember you were wearing like you're like really. It wasn't your blues. I don't know what you were wearing. It was like your khaki ones and the green pants or whatever. And you wore your hat, and like you're like, oh, I need to get on the red carpet. Like, I need to get on the red carpet. Like, my kids are here. Like, my kids. And then we ended up on the red carpet meeting like everybody. We walked it with them too. That was so cool. But going to school there, I loved it. Like, there definitely was like a lot of like bad seeds at our school because I don't know if they just wanted to act out or whatever, but or I don't know what was like ideology behind how they acted. But like, I loved it. I loved going to school on base. Like, I was so sad when we moved away because like all my friends were there and like all my favorite teachers were there and like the teachers were really cool. Like, I was really cool with he was like one of my favorite teachers. May he rest in peace. But like, I had a lot of good teachers there. I think a lot of them still work there or they've retired. It was pretty cool.
No, I think they definitely had its own advantages.
Mhm.
And that's one of the few schools that are left inside a military installation. And I know, although on those times that I was gone, I think I was very involved, and I used to take you and your brother to school, walk you guys back and forth. So for me, that was great because we didn't have to drive, somewhere else, on another part of the school district, and plus, getting involved with the schools, doing some of the plays that we got to do together. I think we all became
Like,
celebrities doing some of the Christmas shows. I think we
yeah,
did
the
like
Polar
four of them.
Express. That was my favorite. And my teacher, Mrs. Ehlers, she would always call you like, "Hey Frank, like, do you want to come be in our like performance?" And my dad would always be like, "Heck yeah!" And like, we did um, Dr. Seuss, you did the Grinch, you did Polar Express because you're the ticket master, and Tigger. I remember you did Tigger, and you made all of those costumes when we lived in Duluth housing in the what's it called, like the little loft of the garage, and you with your sewing machine, you make and you'd put them on like walking around the house, and like when we did the Dr. Seuss, me and Joe's hair was like blue and like huge, and like everybody was like, "Oh, we know who those kids are. Like, those are Frank's kids." Like, everyone knew who we were at that school.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's some definitely good times, and for me, it was just I just wanted to make sure that make those things memorable for you guys, because even nowadays, we do carry a lot of guilt because not only because of the friends that we've lost, and which we'll talk about that later on, but you carry guilt in the sense that, man, I'm leaving my kids behind, and you feel bad because I got to miss a lot of the time. I got to miss your first communion. I got to miss some of the performances that you had, and other first time type of things that um, you wish you could be there, and all you could tell yourself is like, well, I'm out here in the name of freedom. I'm in the name of America, and protecting these out here, so those back home, and those back home as well, so they can sleep good at night. But you still can't help feeling bad about all those things, which I guess we could talk about. What was it like for you, um, seeing your dad, especially at a very young age, the first time in 2002, what was that like for you? Seeing him, go. Um, yeah, what was that like?
It was definitely hard. Like whenever you did leave, like even though like I didn't fully understand like what you were going, I just knew you were going like to like Iraq or Afghanistan, or like even like when you went to Japan. Like I knew you were leaving, and I didn't fully understand what you were doing out there, but I knew there was a chance like, oh, he may not come back, kind of thing. So like that was always crossed my mind, and it was hard, like because you'd miss Christmas or like Thanksgiving or like my birthday, and like I would always like my birthday wish was like always for you to come home. And I freaking start crying.
It's okay.
But like I
It's
would
okay.
always wish for you like to come home, and like it sucked, but you like wouldn't. But like I knew like, oh, he's like fighting for our country, like he's doing what's right, like he's putting his life at risk. But it was definitely hard. Or like when you'd miss like the daddy daughter dances, and like you would have your Marines come like step into. That was always like that was really hard. But like I always appreciate, like even now, like I always appreciate, like even though you knew you couldn't be there, like you still did like something in a way for like, so I didn't feel left out. Like like I said, you'd get your Marines, like you would make sure like they would take care of me and take me there and like take me to dinner and like make sure I have a good time. Like, cause I know you wanted to be there, but you just couldn't because of, being gone on deployment. But I mean, it was hard. Like even now, like I think back, I don't, like I was never mad at you or anything, but it was like, man, like if only he was here to do these things. Like, I wonder like what kind of more memories would have made. Like I remember when you were in deployment in Japan, and I came home from school, and mom called you, and you like she was telling like she had a really bad day, and like she misses you, and like Christmas is coming near. And I was like sobbing on the phone, like I say like, I just miss you, like I want you home, like I don't want to miss another Christmas with you. And then I gave the phone back to mom, and mom was like, should we just tell her? And then you're like, yeah, put me on speaker. And then you're like, surprise, I'm coming home for Christmas. And I was so happy. I was like, yes, my Christmas wish finally came true. And you're like, I was going to surprise you, but I felt so bad. Like, I just had to tell you. So,
I
but
think it
like,
was because
go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
But like,
Oh no, I
growing,
think it's because Ryan had Tony was, which is Ryan's dad. He was coming home, and your mom was, hey, Tony's coming home. Is do you think you'd be able to? And I wasn't really sure because when I was in Japan, we were having units come on in to train and such. But I'm glad I was able to peel off and be able to, for your brother and sister, for you and your brother, um,
yeah,
you know for
yeah, but
for
like,
that as well.
yeah, no, it was hard. Like, I don't know, like, just having like you see all those commercials. Like, I mean, I don't have cable now, but you see all those commercials where it's like during the holidays, especially, like, so like around this time, like you see like basically saying like, hey, like there's some people aren't coming home this like holiday, like make sure you have a prayer out for them. And like I'd always think like, yeah, it's like my dad, like he's not coming home like this holiday, like he's stuck overseas, like, and I don't know if I'll see him anytime soon, or if he'll be coming back. And like, having Christmas and Thanksgiving over Skype was like, it was fun and all, but like it's like you're not there, like you don't have like the whole family. And like even though like you and mom are divorced now, like, but like at the time it's like I don't have the whole family. Like, now I'm used to it, obviously, but like when we were all like one big family, like, it was just not the same having it over, like opening Christmas presents over Skype. It's just like, do you see it? Can you see it? And then it's like bad service. You're like, wait, just keep holding it. And you're like, oh yeah, I can see it. And like you'd have like your Marines. Like I remember one Christmas we lived in Lake O'Neill, and I was like putting on my new pajamas, and like um, I was showing you, and like one of your Marines were like being like hella loud. You're like, I can hear you clipping your nails through this paper at the wall. Like, stop, dude. Like that always like sticks with me. Like how you said that, because like I'm trying to have a moment with my kids, dude. Like, please stop. And he's like, oh, sorry, clip.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely had its cons. Like you being
Do
gone
you
like sucked.
let me ask you: do you feel do you have any resentment towards the Marine Corps, or at any point in time, because you felt like they were taking your dad away from you and such?
I never really did because like you were not like I'm not saying like all people are like this, but I know a few people who like when they go on deployment like they don't talk to like their family like a lot while they're gone because like they're like, oh, like I'm out doing this, like exploring. But like you always like made an effort to like, hey, I'm gonna call you guys, like I'm gonna talk to you guys. I may not have long, but like I'm gonna talk to you. Like you still made an effort to like be in our lives while you were gone. Like you always checked in on us and like you just made sure we were okay. And I never had any resentment towards you or like the Marine Corps. Like I mean, I even considered joining the Marine Corps at one point, so obviously I never had any resentment. But yeah, I never had any resentment. Like I was always proud to say, like my dad's a Marine, like my dad's in the United States Marine Corps, and he's sacrificing his life to like make sure we're all safe here in America. Like I was always proud to say it. I was like beyond proud. I mean, you know that.
No, no, I know you've always been a huge advocate and supporter, and you've done a lot of volunteer work. Advocating. I know tell us a little bit about all the some of the advocate work that you've done in support of the military through the Brotherhood of Marine Corps Writers and the Semper Fi Fund. Growing up,
I remember like well with your the Brotherhood Marine Corps. I remember I started. I don't even know what age, like maybe 9, if not earlier. I always was like, I will be at that poker run. I will be directing traffic. Like I'm gonna help as much as I can. I would remember like I would help sell like tickets for the raffle for like the bike and like everything that like people donated. Like I was there every year. Even if I like was working when I got older, like I made an effort to be there because like I always wanted to give back and like I grew up with like all the guys in the club and like like they all helped raise me and like they always were like you're going to join the Marine Corps one day. Like, you are going to be a badass Marine. And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I could not handle, like, getting yelled at in boot camp. But, like, I was always there. Like, they were always telling me, like, thank you so much for, like, coming. Like, we appreciate it. And I would always spread the word at my high school. Like, even when I, like, graduated, I would spread the word. Like, even if I couldn't make it, I would still, like, share everything about, like, the poker run to my Facebook, my Instagram, like my Twitter. Like I made sure people knew about it, and like a lot of people did come out from like they would all come out, a lot of them. So yeah, it's just because I grew up in it. Like that was my life. Like for a long time, like the Marines were my life. Like I grew up around them. I remember like they would all come over to like your unit would come over to our house. Like they literally like raised me. Like I learned so much from you being in the Marine Corps. Like because how you think, like you like embedded that into me. So now like I have that strong mindset that you were able to learn from when you served. So yeah, I always want to give back. I remember I raised money for like the Semper Fi Fund, like and like the Wounded Warrior Project too. But I made a lot. Like I helped raise so much money for like all different kinds because I want to give back to the people who have like sacrificed their lives for like my safety and others.
yeah. No, no, and I've always appreciated your brother and your mom at the time. You guys did a lot of hard work, and I know your mom used to be involved with the military outreach ministry program, and I know you did a lot of the logistics work for them, which was fantastic. But kind of switching gears a little bit, what was it like? I mean, as you know, I have PTSD and been diagnosed, and it's something that I struggle with. Did you feel growing up like, hey, there's something wrong with my dad, or why is he this way? What is your perspective on that aspect? From your point of view as a young child, and seeing from there in comparison from there to now, because I've been pretty open with you.
Yeah, you always have. Well, when I was younger, I didn't always like understand. Like, I know, like my mom would be like, "Hey, like if you go wake up like your dad, like be like calm when you approach him, because like if he's sleeping, like he may be dreaming, like so just be careful." And I was just like, okay. And like I always like I knew you went to therapy. Like I remember you went to like you had to watch a video with like headphones, like and like I think it was like you were playing a game, like a like Black Ops or something, to
Oh
see if
yeah,
it would trigger you, like in
yeah.
any way. Cause like the
I think it's
shooting,
like cognitive behavioral therapy or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. And like I always knew, and like I knew like something wasn't. Not saying something wasn't right, but like something like with you, like whether it was emotionally or mentally, like you were just like off because like you would get distant, and like I didn't really understand why. But then like once I got older and like I learned what like post-traumatic stress disorder is and like everything like that, I had a better understanding. Like I always like approached you with cautiousness when you were sleeping, and like if I knew you were like in a bad mood, I knew it wasn't like anything towards specific. It's just like something from what you've dealt with going to overseas and stuff. But like I never looked at you differently. Like I never thought like, oh, my dad's special, like you gotta be careful, like he's special. Like I never treated you differently. Like I feel like I was pretty much like the same, but I was always like aware of like your feelings because like you went through so much that like not many people can say they've seen or like dealt with. So like, and I mean obviously like I have like my own form of PTSD from like the trauma I went through as a child. So like I had a better understanding of it as well because I was able to relate
Which
in
is
some way, not which is not
no,
like
no. Just
anywhere
clarifying to
what you
to
would
the
do.
audience. Yeah. No, and just to clarify to our audience that you had your own set of trauma, that you had an event that occurred to you. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think at any point in time, I would get I was withdrawn and distant when I would get when I would go into my mental, I guess, safe space or whatever I was going through. But it wasn't. It was never towards your brother or your mother. It wasn't like that. It was just more withdrawal, and we get this affluent feeling, kind of like, man, people. Some
Yeah.
people, like, you're like, meh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, and even at the time, it was just like, what, you ask yourself, and one of the things at the Wonder Warrior Battalion, the Warrior Built, when we're in PTSD group, we talk, why am, we ask ourselves, well, why am I this way? Why do we do want to be, a lot of us who have that, we do want to be involved. We do want to spend time with our wives, our kids. But it's just something else. It's like the software and the wiring it's not making that connection, so to speak. So did you ever felt like it was directed towards you or your brother, or in that type of way?
No, I never really did. Like, I never thought, like, because I would be like, I would think back and, like, say, like, did I do something? And I'd be like, maybe I probably, like, upset him because, like, I ate the food I wasn't supposed to. But then I'm like, no, like, that wouldn't really set him off. Like, but, like, I just knew, like, something must have happened while he was away. And, like, he's just not ready to talk about it. Or, like, he may never be ready to talk about it because, like I said, like, what you guys went through, like, I can never relate to that. I know a bunch of people can never relate to that, especially like now. Like I just know like something you went through something, and like you weren't ready to talk about it, or you just you'll never be, and that's okay. But I just know like he's not mad at me. Like I didn't do anything. Like Joe didn't do anything. Mom didn't do anything. So let's just give him space because sometimes space is what people need. Like they just need space and like I love my mom to death, but like and I'm not gonna say I'm not talking bad about her, but like she didn't know what
No, I
space
get it.
was. Like she just always thought like, oh, if he's upset, like I need to see why. Like, are you okay? Are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it. But she never really understood like I'm fine. I just don't want to talk about it because like she's such a care. Like she wants to care and like fix the solution rather than like you just have your own time until you're ready. And so like a lot of people don't really understand that. Like you guys, the people like who serve, like they go through a lot of shit and like some of that shit they don't want to talk about. And like us civilians, the people who don't go on deployment or who are not in the military, like don't really understand that, and we just want to check on you guys and make sure you're okay. But it just gets to a point like where you're just like, leave me the fuck alone, because like I don't want to lose my shit on you because you're not doing anything. I get you're caring about me, but like I don't want that right now. Just leave me alone. Like you guys aren't always ready to talk about what you guys went through, and I will always respect that of you guys because I know you guys go through a lot.
Yeah, and you're right. You know, there's a lot of there's misunderstanding, and as far as with your in regards to your mom, she was more of that hands-on communication right then and there, which there's a lot more understanding now as far as PTSD, because even back then, I know for us and a lot of senior enlisted and officers growing up in the Marine Corps, prior to 9/11 and so on, you just didn't you never talked about it. Hey, did you know, Staff Sergeant so and so, that dude is crazy. He went to a shrink. To say that you're seeking mental health or guidance was, you just didn't do that. You kept that shit to yourself. You sucked it up, and hey, you just got hey, semper gumby, baby, keep doing your thing. So, but now, there's a lot more understanding. It's a lot more, people know. Hey, sometimes this is why they're a lot more understanding and reasons why. Hey, it's okay to give them space. Maybe they're not ready right now. So, a lot of differences. Nothing, bad. At the time in regards to just, neither she didn't understand, I didn't understand, and that's what it is now. But no, it was. I think it's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say like I just always feel like there's like a stigma or like a stereotype when like you say like, oh, I'm going to counseling, because like I remember like when mom was like, hey, like Frank, like you should really go to counseling, and you were like, no, like I'm not going to that, like I'm not going to be on meds, like I'm not doing any of that, like I'm not doing that to myself, and you like was like, no, like it could help you, like it really could, and you're like, no, and it took you a while to actually be like, okay, I need to go, and like that's okay, like I would never, like I never really forced you to go, like I always thought like, hey, maybe it's a good idea to like, you can talk to somebody who isn't like family, because sometimes talking to somebody that isn't your mom or your dad or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or like whatever is like what you need, because then you don't have a, like you have an unbiased opinion, and like you don't have to worry about
Right.
like, oh shit, if I say something to them, like are they gonna look at me differently, because it's just psychiatrists, they're just here to like let you vent and like talk and like let it all out, and they'll give advice and they'll give opinions, but they'll only give it if you ask for it, and if not, like they'll respect it. Unlike with family, it's like when you talk, they're like, okay, well here's what I think you should do, and like this is what's best for like you and our family as a whole, and not really considering up like how you're gonna feel
Right.
in the end. So, but I mean, you always advocated for me as well. Like once you started going, and like once everything came forward with what happened to me, like you were always just telling me like, hey, you need to go to counseling.
Yeah.
So
Well, P, I'd like to thank you for your time and joining us on the show. Where can people find you if they want to talk? Because I know you have your own little stories that you share with your friends and such. But if people want to reach out, where can they go find you on social media?
you can find me on my Instagram. It's at underscore IDEKPJ.
Nice, that's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking time out of I know you're right now in between your break at work. So I really appreciate you joining us the show and honoring us with your presence. For sure, we're going to bring you back and just talk a little bit more about this subject, because I think it's important for people to know and understand, you know, and feel like they're not alone, because having to deal with some of the things that you dealt with. But thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate
Okay, bye bye. Love you.
it. Bye, sweetie. Hey everybody. Well, we'll go ahead and bring part two. So, and for sure, we're gonna bring, get the perspective from, my son as well. But it's important, and if you feel like you want to talk about this or and any other thing in regards to PTSD, and you're having issues and symptoms, please feel free to reach out. I'm here. I'm here for you. But from our studio here in Texas, I'd like to say we're gonna go ahead and index right now. And with that being said, folks, Semper Fi. I am out of here. Get some.